My name is Richard Villalpando, and before I say my speech, I would like to give a quick thank you to my family sitting over there. You please stand up. To Ms. Gill and to all of you parents here supporting your children, and some of your staff. Okay, so the name of my speech is called Blayensa, which means let's dance, in Fanti, which is a dialect in Ghana. Almost 2 years ago, I looked at the boy in the bathroom mirror. His facial expression was empty. Tears dripped in parallel lines down his cheeks, and his eyes glistened dark pink. I saw his disillusioned eyes as he looked back at me, in desperate need of somebody. He shed sobs repeatedly into the air, and his fists were clenched into perfect circles. I continued to stare and felt sorry for this boy, who in public tried to show a tough individual, but in private broke down into tears and cursed at God. And once his tears dried and the wrinkles on his face smoothed out, I realized something. I was staring at myself. At the moment, I thought the boy in the mirror was the only person in the entire world who I could rely on and would stand by me. My own reflection, nobody else. So I continued to go with life, growing inward instead of outward, isolating myself from friends and family, gripping onto my emotions, truly believing that I only had me. That turned out to be my greatest mistake. 1 month later, I walked into the College and Career Center at school and heard a presentation on a program called Summer Search. Out of the 30 students that day, I was the only one who chose to apply and to open up the gate for future Willow Glen summer searchers. Soon after that came my interview. The interview began with a rough start. About halfway through it, I realized what the purpose was. I was there to speak about my life, not to try and avoid it with short, simple responses. So I looked my interviewer straight in the eyes, and I told her everything. I told her about the daily arguments my older sister and my father used to have, about the day she ran away and never came back, about the conflicts that arose between my father and mother because of her disappearance, about the anger and pain this caused my family, and about the constant need to push people away from me. I spoke until I ran out of things to say, unable to control what I was saying. When I was done, I felt out of breath, as if I had spoken really fast, but I hadn't. It was just that for the first time, I had told someone in so much depth my inner feelings. Most surprisingly, I had told a complete stranger. I felt delicate tears begin to crawl down my cheeks, and my face felt heated and red. I wanted to take everything back, to make her forget everything she had heard. It was impossible now. She had heard too much. I continued to feel uncomfortable with how much I shared with Summer Search, until the spring event. That night, a young girl named Rosa spoke. I'm glad she did. Through her speech, I realized that I wasn't the only one with challenges at home, and that other students suffered through tough times too. And suddenly I felt connected with everyone at that event. Slowly I began to leave behind the boy who looked at me in the mirror a year earlier. Then came my first summer. 3 weeks in Leadville, Colorado, pushed my limits, and was the hardest experience of my life by far. Waking up from pleasant dreams and suddenly finding myself sleeping on a rock in below freezing temperature and obligated to wear ice-cold socks and shirts at the beginning of the day wasn't the best part of my experience. The best part was something deeper and more profound. It was that for the first time, I lived in a worry-free environment, away from arguments and conflicts that hurt me. I had also created bonds with 10 students, closer bonds that I had ever had with anyone besides my life, and life just felt right. The moment I came back, I wanted everyone to know what my experience had been like. I attempted to explain it to a couple of people, but was unsuccessful. They seemed to hear what I said, but didn't quite understand the magnitude of my experience. The only ones that understood were Summer Search staff and students. Then the problems began again at home. My sister, who had reunited with her family, once again blew our trust by secretly stealing money from my parents. Once again, it was as if I had fallen back into my own self. I still called Summer Search, but I didn't tell them what I felt. I continued like this for a while, until my second interview, where I spoke about my feelings and challenges of being back home. At the end of the interview, the mentors and I agreed on something. I would call in every week, sometimes twice or triple times if I needed it. From that point on, I've become more active with Summer Search. We also discussed my second trip, a trip that would take place 7,673 miles away from home, Ghana, Africa. Ghana was difficult, both physically and mentally. Me and a small group of Americans stayed in a village so remote you can't even find it on Google. We spent 2 rigorous weeks, side by side, building a primary school for them. Every day we woke up at 5 or 6 in the morning, ate breakfast, and walked to the work site, where we put in almost 8 hours of tough labor in the desert heat. At the end of the day, my shirt was soaked with sweat, dirt, cement, and oddly shaped insects. Muscles ached and my body was nasty and sticky. To top that, when we went home, we had to somehow communicate with our host families, who knew 10 to 20 words in English. Afternoons were usually a time where we would try to explain our culture or understand theirs. Memorize songs, play Ludo, which is like parcheesi, play soccer with 100 village kids at once, or catch thousands of illuminating fireflies beneath the spectrum lightings of the stars. Once again, I felt content with life. Everyone in the village knew my name, Kweku. I learned to become attached to these people who lived joyful and enthusiastic lives, even though they lived in extreme poverty. It wasn't until our last afternoon before departure that I realized how far I had come in life, not only on this trip, but in life. There was a ceremony for the foreigners last day. They prayed and danced and spoke about what it had been like to have us. As the ceremony ended, the villagers began to disperse, and 2 children began to dance in the center of the circle. Everyone stared at them with joy and compassion. Slowly they danced toward our group and pulled me and another girl into the circle to dance, saying, "Playensa, let's dance." The girl ran to her seat, blushing with embarrassment. I stayed. Every single person in the village was looking at me now. Worried if they would laugh at my dancing, if I would make a fool of myself. Then I just ignored those worries and enjoyed the moment. And I danced with the 2 little children. As they hopped around and showed signs of no dancing skills, I did too. I did a sort of robot/salsa wave like. Soon enough, the first crowd was imitating me, holding their stomachs as they burst with laughter at my strange move. Then everyone began to dance. The village men, women, children, elderly, and even the Americans, though they knew it was a horrible move. I stopped for a moment, because I realized how happy I was. The happiest I'd ever been in my life. I didn't even seem like the quiet guy everyone knew. I remembered looking at my reflection in the mirror 2 years before and believing that I only had me. Never had I imagined that 2 years later I would be here. Never had I imagined that the lonely boy who cried in his bathroom would feel loved and cherished by an entire community, both in Africa and in the States. Never had I felt so connected to a community. Then I realized that the communities were always there. It was just that I had never learned to become a part of it. Now I had. On the following day, we departed Corrado, forever, carrying nothing but memories and happy moments, and an entire community in our hearts. I lost Corrado, but I had Summer Search waiting for me at home. Summer Searchers. We were all invited into this community, and we have all stepped into the center of the circle to dance. And through our dance, we have expressed our feelings and emotions to the entire group. We have taken the risk to look awkward in front of them, even though we are not naturals at it. But in exchange, we have received the love and support of our community. As we hold hands, we form the circle in which we can all dance, each of us expressing ourselves and supporting each other. And the more we dance, the more our community will expand. The more we dance, the more the bond between each other will bind. The more we dance, the more we will have a community by our side. Playensa.